The first facial feature practice that we're going to do is of an eye with a pen. We're using multiple medias and materials for the different facial features just so you can get practice for which material you would most like to use on top of your final portrait, where you're going to be refining details and really emphasizing value change. So start thinking about which of these materials you like the best. A lot of you might even mix together multiple medias, so maybe using watercolor and then pen on top of it just to refine and add more details and texture. But again, this first one is going to be of the eye, so I'm going to play this time lapse of me drawing an eye. Make sure that you do include each of the different parts that we talk about and try your best to really emphasize value change throughout. But getting started, I'm just going to do a quick circle for the placement of the center of the eye with the pupil and the iris there. And then I'm drawing a small circle for where I want those outside parts of the eye to meet. So the smaller circle on the left is going to be down towards the base of the eye, so equal with the bottom of the circle here. And then the one on the right is going to be pretty much in the middle or just slightly raised. It does depend on the reference picture or the eye that you're looking at, but that's how it typically would look when you're drawing an eye. And I'm going to pause this for a second so you can see these different parts that I did go in and add. But I'm starting to clean things up, refine things. There is this tear duct, so make sure you do leave that circle, and you can actually kind of divide it in half just for more detail. If you're looking at a reference picture, again, you'll be able to see more, especially for your final portrait. And then what I'm doing here is drawing the outline of the pupil and the iris and adding a small circle for the highlight. So make sure that you do add a highlight on the eye. That's what's going to make the eye look like it has that glossy feel and really come to life. So highlight's important. And then the eyelid is also a very important small detail that a lot of people overlook or forget when they're drawing an eye. So make sure that you also are drawing that eyelid right above and below the eye. The top eyelid, you'll want to leave a little bit of space and just kind of connect and follow that same contour or shape of the eye. And then the bottom eyelid, I'm just kind of following the bottom as well, but it doesn't extend the entirety of the eye. So I'm going to go ahead and continue playing the time lapse here, where I'll start to bring in some of the details and some of the value change. What I'm going to be working with is cross-hatching, and I would like you to try more of a cross-hatching style versus blending, because the pen is going to be a lot easier to use cross-hatching for. And it is neat to see that texture, especially on top of tissue paper and the different materials we're going to be collaging for your portraits. Here I'm just going around and kind of creating some texture within the eye. I would just make sure that all of those lines are pointing in towards the center of the eye. And then the outside of this part is usually a little bit darker. So what I did was draw lines going about halfway to the middle of the eye and then circle around on top of it with an additional layer. Now I'm just kind of darkening things on the outside of the eye here, starting to shade the eyelid. The center of the eyelid is typically going to be more of a highlight. So I'm leaving the center white with just a few lines going over it, and then I'm cross-hatching and making my lines a lot darker and closer together on the outside parts of the eyelid. And then typically too, the nose is connected all the way up to the eyebrow that comes around and connects with the eye. So I'm shading for that part where the nose is coming in. So it's usually going to be a shadow coming down on the inside of the eye. And then remember too that the white part of the eye is not completely white. So I'm adding some value change where it's going to be a little bit more gray on the outside of the eye. So just really lightly adding some cross-hatching lines. Now I'm going to be going in with the eyelashes. When you're drawing the eyelashes, really pay attention to the direction of each eyelash. In each of the 4 sections of the eye, they're going to be flipped different directions. So I'm starting in the upper right-hand corner of the eye. This is where the eyelashes will be the longest, and they're creating pretty much a J shape or a backwards C shape. So make sure that they are curving, and you'll notice I'm really only starting with about 3 main eyelashes. So I'm not doing 1,000 little eyelashes yet. I'm just working with some of the main lashes. And then when you get towards the inside of the eye, these eyelashes flip, go the opposite direction, and they're going to be a lot lighter. So I keep those spaced out. And then the bottom of the eye, you can see down on the left where I added those lines kind of curving in. So those will be a C shape similar to what I have on the top there. And then on the bottom, they're flipped again the opposite direction, so they're pretty much a backwards C shape there as well. Right now I'm going back in and filling in more smaller details of eyelashes in the upper right-hand corner where most of the eyelashes are focused. And instead of making a bunch of really dark lines, I'm filling in these lines a little bit lighter and then going over an additional layer right underneath on the rim of the eye here. I went over it a second time to kind of darken that bottom portion. So it's going to be darker at the bottom and fade to a lighter value. Then I also went in and added a few smaller light eyelashes on the bottom. There's really not many though on the bottom eyelash. And then on the top inside part of the eye, make sure that you're not doing too many eyelashes here. Try to really only have maybe 2 or 3 main eyelashes with a few smaller ones really lightly shaded in that are a bit shorter. But here is the final eye. Look at the reference picture or look at this example back on this website where you're able to see a little bit more of the detail while you're drawing it.